Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in of the Groove Session show with me, Roman.
And me, Jack.
Yes, Jack. Today, we're looking to kind of talk a little bit about the journey and the first kind of steps that we took as young musicians. And hopefully, in turn, we're looking to bring you value if you're thinking of picking up an instrument or, you could be a young player and thinking, I kind of fancy that, but I'm not sure. So hopefully we can just provide you a little bit of value. But before we get into that, I'd just like to say a big thanks to anyone that's engaged with us on the content that we've already released.
Yeah, big thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate that, and we hope you keep coming back and enjoying it.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So how do we want to approach this, Jack? Do you want to jump in and sort of talk a little bit about your start? Like how?
Yeah.
I suppose what I would ask you is like, why the drums? Like, when did you first kind of pick up the drumsticks?
Oh, that's a very good question.
You might not remember. I don't know.
I think I wouldn't say I 100% remember when I when I first picked up a pair of drumsticks. I would have to probably go with like I was kind of like later on down the line after starting to play. I was told by my parents that like when I was younger, I used to be in the car and like it would be a random song. It just wouldn't be like anything that I knew because I was a kid. I was like, mate, I was probably like 3 or 4. Like I don't remember. But like my mum used to say like we used to get the feeling you were gonna do something music wise because you would kick and you would smack and you would tap everything to along to the music in the car, or even in the living room, you would like stamp around when a song came on, you'd dance, you had a bit of rhythm. We could tell you had a bit of rhythm. And obviously that then kind of, they're telling me that like however long after I've already started drumming. But I first had my first drum kit, like little kiddie drum kit when I was about 3 or 4. Because
you had one of them.
Yeah, really? I had like one of those like I like a proper kiddie set, like kiddie set, and
that's wicked.
Yeah, and then I think like I don't know, it's typical kid, man. Like you go to school and like it's just I don't know. I didn't carry it on. It wasn't like anything that was really given to me as like an opportunity to do throughout primary school, really.
So the little kit was more of a toy kind of.
It was like a toy, and it was just like a smash and bash around, and I did bash it like literally toward like. I ripped it. Like it was like before when I think I was like 6 or 7, it was holes in it and like I don't know what's happened to it. But through primary school I didn't really have an opportunity to kind of do the drums, if that makes sense, because they didn't really have that kind of facility.
No lessons or
I did music. We did music, but it worked, like I didn't get to play on a kit, I didn't really so I think it was music, I think it was like after years after like obviously over here we have like the different year groups in school, so like after year 6, which is like the end of our primary school,
so like what 10 you'd be about 10 year 6?
I'd be about 10 going on 11 10 going on 11. I kind of started getting into it again, and my music was a big thing in my household, listening to CDs, listening to like retro vinyl and stuff like that, and like different bands, and like I talked to my dad about what bands he used to see and stuff like that, and it just kind of fueled it, I think, a little bit more to the point where I started getting into it quite a lot, and I didn't have a drum kit of my own, so I was going to school, secondary school now, and the great thing about it is I had music lessons, and it started to fuel it even more. And they had a kit. They had
the kit,
and they had a kit.
Yeah.
And I
huge.
During my lunchtime, like me and my mates, we would go in the music room, and I would just show them what I could do on the drum kit, and I used to love it. They absolutely used to love it, and they were like, "Oh man, I wish I could do that." But
would you feed off of that admiration then of others?
Yeah,
like you would like to be like, look at this.
I would like to be kind of like, wow, like I kind of
like to impress them.
Yeah, I like to like show people what I can do, kind of thing, but like not in a, as I said, cocky way. Do you know what I mean?
It's not being arrogant. It's just like
no, not at all. It's
I'm proud of this.
I'm proud of what I've learned and what I do, because I did teach myself for like at least 2.5 years. Like
Yeah.
self-taught myself
Self-taught.
how to like be the basics. I watched loads of videos and I just watched loads of drummers and stuff like that. And then I think like 2-3 years into drumming, I was like, nah, I need to get lessons by somebody who's other than a YouTube video person. You know, I feel like I need that
in person,
the sort of vibe. So I started getting drum lessons from a guy called Jamie, who was very local to me, and he was a drummer. He was a session musician at the time. And
and this is what, when you're 12, 13,
12,
14,
13, yeah, something like that. And around that time. And he was really good. He taught me a lot. He introduced me to a lot of gear, a lot of brands, a lot of stuff, a lot of checking stuff out. Started really getting hyped on gear and talking about drums and finding out about new stock coming out. And during those periods of time, I was actually going to the what they call the London Drum Show with my dad.
Awesome.
Where literally like there would be
go and see all the best players.
All the best players and like all the best gear, the new gear out on the scene. And it was quality. It was quality. Like it was some of the best times ever. Like, you know.
Can I just jump in prior to you having actual lessons, in-person lessons? You were just watching YouTube and doing your thing. How good were you before lessons? Were you like poor or like okay, or like, if you're being honest, like how much? Was YouTube beneficial?
I think YouTube was beneficial. And I'd say to the viewers now, YouTube is very, very beneficial now. Back then, it wasn't as a big a thing, you know? So like, and I say back, I'm like, Jesus, man. I say back then, like I was like, I'm like 30. I sound like back then, like when it was like, you know. But
all jokes aside, when you were that age, YouTube would have just come out, I would have thought.
Yeah, and literally. Well, it was like the new thing. It was like the new thing. It was like the thing that like you were getting introduced to. And like, so, you know, these things you have nowadays, YouTubers and, you know, influencers and stuff, they weren't a thing then. They weren't a thing. You know, they've only come in the last 5-6 years become popular. But now I would say that if you are starting out learning drums, just on my point of view, it is such a great place to learn. There's so many educational platforms. There's so many drummers that do different styles, different genres, and they show you different techniques. And there's so many videos out there that they show you how to play rudiments, how to play, you know, sort of grooves, different time signatures, stuff like that. It's great. Like there's so much out there now. Back then there weren't a lot. Exactly. But back there weren't a lot. And you know what? I actually learned a lot of my stuff from Drummer Magazine.
What, the actual magazine?
The actual magazine. So Drummer Magazine. So Drummer. I used to collect Drummer Magazine. Like I have a stack about this big of Drummer Magazine.
That's awesome.
And I used to collect. And my dad, they signed me up to get an issue every time it came out. So I get sent to my house. Yeah. So I get
a weekly thing or a monthly thing?
It was a monthly thing, I think. And in the back of it, you would have about 4 pages, double page spreads, and it would have a different person teaching you a new rudiment or a new style or something. And
left, right, left, that kind of
thing. Or like you know, how to play a 4/4 standard rock beat, or like a introducing double bass drum to your grooves, you know, stuff like that, you know, simple broken down things that they would do from the top to the so from the top of the page to the bottom of the page, it would get harder because it would push you to like progress through the page.
Oh, I've got you. Yeah.
So I used to do that, and it was great. Like it used to help, it benefited me quite a lot, and that's how I started teaching myself, was reading those books and getting like, you know, your influence from other drummers and stuff like that. But yeah, I going back on your question that you asked, I wouldn't say I was amazing. I wouldn't say I was near enough good. Like, I had rhythm.
Something. Yeah.
But there was something there that needed to come out. And like, I just, because I didn't know a lot, I couldn't find it. So I needed somebody in person who knew what that was to show me and tell me and me to play and learn from them, so that I'd know I was in the right setting. So I'd go, okay, I thought that, and now I know how to play it. But when I thought it, I didn't know how to play it. So
I've
you've
got you.
given me that
Yeah.
given me that kind of boost. But yeah,
And
definitely.
also with a kind of in-person exchange, like a lesson, like if you're doing it weekly, there's an element of pressure, isn't there? You're not just sitting on a
Oh,
computer or
mate,
reading a magazine. You've
you're a
got someone looking at you and
yeah, yeah,
critiquing you, haven't you?
yeah, pretty much.
So
You're a kid. I was a kid who, I'll be honest, I was a kid who wasn't very academic. So
well, I could have told you that.
yeah. Oh, thanks.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
That's why we play drums, children. No, basically, I wasn't very academic. So how do I put it? Homework to me was boring. And I'm sure to most children and people would agree it was boring.
But for you fucking hated it.
Yeah. But I bloody despised it. It was like just one of those things where just like I would get given homework and I honestly just would forget. I just wouldn't do it, and it would be the last minute rush to get it done or I'd have to go in and make up the crappiest excuse as to why I didn't do it, like, oh, my cat died, or I don't know,
The dog ate it.
I fell down the stairs or something like that, and I didn't have time, went to hospital. I don't know, just like crappy excuses that like the teacher would go, right, you got one more day to do it or something like that. Buy myself time, basically. But basically, I would basically sort of I'd get given things to learn. So I'd go to my lessons, I'd get things to learn. I'd go away and like, because
that would be your focus.
Yeah, that would be my focus. But also because I wasn't that confident and I wasn't 100% sure on things, I would just play what I thought it was meant to be. And that's okay because it's called experimentation. And like that actually, that's why I feel like I've progressed so much since then now. It's because I actually enjoy experimenting with different elements and sounds and feel and stuff. But back then I wouldn't have known how to do that if I hadn't been taught what's right and what's wrong. And I think the best thing about that was like having someone to personally tell you, rather than just reading from a book, someone to tell you what you're doing there is wrong, or what you've done there is like perfect, or just whatever, you know. So I had a lot of influence from growing up from doing those lessons with Jamie, and you know, credit to the guy, like, you know, he was this working session musician. He didn't always have the time to come and like do lessons with me because he'd be out doing tours or like playing shows, and sometimes I'd like turn up and like I would like, I don't know, I'd forget because it'd been so long since like a last lesson. I'd forget some of the stuff, so it'd just be like a recyclable thing, kind of learning, you know. But at that point in time, you don't really respect what he was doing. You're like, oh, I ain't got a drum lesson.
What, his work?
Yeah, like you're just, oh, I ain't got a drum lesson this week. Oh,
my
teacher's crap, man. He won't turn up. He won't teach me. Like, I'm not learning anything. That kind of vibe started getting into your head. It's only now, however many years later, have I realised that actually what he was doing is what I'm doing now. And I teach drums now.
You do teaching,
and I'm the same sometimes. I don't always get to teach, you know.
I've got a question about that. You said your teacher was a session musician or is a session musician.
Yeah.
Would you say that there's a big difference between being taught by a guy like that and then a guy that knows a bit of theory? Like, and what I mean by that, because I've experienced this, there's a lot of teachers out there, like, yes, they know a bit, but I don't feel you get a lot of value from their lessons. You know, they're not teaching you the stuff that can be applied in the real world on a session. You know, it's like play this Queen solo. And you think,
but how's that? No offense, but how's that going to benefit you?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yes, that's fine, but week in, week out, that's not really teaching you much if you want to take it serious.
Yeah, obviously, like you're not. It's not about like it's not just about like turning up and going, right, okay, we're going to play AC/DC Back in Black 5 times round today, and you're going to be the greatest drummer. It's not like that. It's not like we're just going to play song. Like, you actually have to learn the rudiments. You actually have to learn like what a double, singles, paradiddles, you know, all those kind of things are in order to accentuate which is a very big word, accentuate them round the kit. Do you know what I mean? Like
You said you were an
experiment.
academic.
Nah, do you know what I mean?
You.
Like, yeah.
I don't believe you.
But yeah, like it's just sort of like
it's kind of, I suppose it does come down to what your vision is like as a player, whether you want to take it professional. And we'll get into that. We're going to talk about this in another episode, aren't we?
Yeah,
but
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's, I wouldn't say like don't go to a teacher that just wants to play AC/DC. But if you're looking to be serious about it, and like Jack said, you need to learn all the techniques to become a well-rounded musician.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not
at
just
least that's the way I see it.
It's like a lot of people think, oh, you can just like jam to songs and you'll be great. It's like, yeah, okay, but there's actually more to it than jamming to a song. Like the drummer that is on that song didn't just play. Do you know what I mean? He had an idea and he put it down, but those ideas came from what he's learned and the rudiments and the styles and the feel, time signatures, everything.
And the why behind it. What, like,
exactly.
why are you doing that with that bass line? Like,
exactly.
Why
exactly.
You work with the song and the other musicians, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, you should do at least to make it the best it can be.
Yeah, you'd hope so. It depends on the musician, I suppose. But yeah, like it's different. But yeah, what about you, man? Like what? Because obviously, I know you don't want to go on about drums all the time, but like I could go on for hours about drums. But what about you? Like
you're a natural talker.
Yeah. What was your first kind of?
Well, I've got a cracking segue, and you won't believe me.
Go on.
You started off by saying, "Oh, my parents told me that I used to like tap in the car and stuff." Right?
Yeah.
No joke. When I was a toddler, I used to drum all the time in the car. My dad would be up front playing tunes.
Yeah.
And I'd be tapping away, and I wanted to be a drummer.
Okay.
And let's get people engaging in the comments.
Yeah.
If you're a musician, did you experience this at a young age? Like, were you tapping in the car? Were you singing along to the radio? Like, let us know, because that is weird to me. Like, that is seriously interesting to me that you said that, because I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, later on, I became a bass player, but
that's the same thing.
I used to do that.
I done that, but I could have become a guitarist because I actually enjoyed watching guitarists as well. But the thing is, I could have become a guitarist, but I didn't because I felt strongly towards playing the one I was doing from the start, which was tapping, which was drums. You know what I mean?
Rhythms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The drums is normally like the cool option, isn't it? When you're young.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people go for the guitar as well, but the idea of like smashing things and just
it's funny. It's funny because like just quickly
thing.
Yeah, but it's funny just quickly just saying like that on that kind of like line of things. It's funny because like so many people go for drums and go for bass, but the thing is like I think more bass players, like, and you'll understand this, more bass players, not many people go for bass. So the problem is the fact that because not many people go for bass, and obviously, if you're a bassist, then comment in the video, you might agree with this, you know what I mean? But if there's not that many bass players out there, so finding a bass player is the hardest thing as being a session player or in a band in the world, because they're so rare. They are rare. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I that's just my opinion. I think they're rare because if you know one, mate, you're happy days, because I'm telling you now, bass players, because they're rare and they're always looked for. They're always looking for work. Do you know what I mean? Like always looking. Do you know what I mean? Because people want a bass player all the time. But it's like singers, guitarists, maybe here or there drummers. They're always easy to find because there's do you know what I mean? They're always easy. That's just my opinion. There's tons of them.
It's wicked for me though, because technically there should be more work out there for bass players.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you're saying.
Oh, so there is though. There so is. Honestly,
take up the bass. If you're thinking, what instrument am I going to play? Take it up. Do it.
Honestly, I don't think
you won't regret it.
It sounds mad because I've spoken to a load of people and they say that and obviously I know a lot of bass players will disagree with me, and you'll probably disagree with me. It's not my point. It's just what people have told me. But like they used to think that like bass players were like the reason there's not many bass players is because it's the most boring.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I turned around.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. But I get that, but at the same time, no. Like,
do you know the psychology behind that? For me,
no, go on.
There's less bass gods. When you talk about guitar and drums, there's loads of prominent players and everyone's like, I want to be like him. But when it comes to bass, like how many, like if you said to someone in the street, like name a bass god or like a famous bass player, like a lot of people would struggle, I think. I know you're probably thinking, no.
Mate, I know loads of them, Jack. And
Yeah.
it's like because I respect bass. Bass, like, you know, you don't get a rhythm section without bass. Drums can't last on its own as a rhythm section. Do you know what I mean?
Bass and drums are the biggest part
you need
of
them.
a track.
You need them. Honestly, you need them because they're what like boosts everything else. Do you know what I mean? And that's just my opinion. That's what you need.
Yeah.
But like, just
That's
going on that point where you said about like if you were to in the street and you were to ask like if I knew any bass players, right? And then anyone anyone watching this or listening, comment below and you tell me a bass player that you know, right? Just off the top of your head. If you don't, then fine.
Don't cheat.
Yeah, don't cheat. But if I turn around to you, Roman, and you should know this, and if you don't, I'll be very surprised. But if I say I'm going to say a surname. Yeah, I'm going to say a surname, and you're going to tell me what band they're from.
Oh, God.
Right?
What, a bass player?
It's a bass player, but I'm going to tell you in a surname. Right? Ready? Deacon.
Yeah. I've got like two bands in mind. Just put me on the spot here. I was only talking about him the other day. Is it was it Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton or one of them? Neither of them.
Neither.
Really?
Neither
is it Bruce? Is it Bruce Deacon?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit, son.
See, and I'm not a bass player, and I know this guy. And I'm telling you now, and I'm honest with God with this. You will ask anybody, and unless you know who this band is and the members of this band, and the only reason I know that is because my dad's a massive fan, and I respect that band big time because they're one of the ones that fueled my love for music. Right?
Yeah. It will come to me. Don't give it away yet. It will.
I won't give it away, but any person you ask or you say, do you know this bass player? Right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you quickly the story behind it. They won't know unless you know who this band is. They won't know. Yeah. You'll say it and they'll go, nah, never heard of him.
Well, now, Jack, it's crazy, mate. My music trivia is like very, very good. And
it is because I've asked you questions before and you're like rapid fire. You know. But
I know he's a prominent, serious bass player, like in the world of music.
I got another clue. Right. I'm not giving it away because I'm actually really enjoying this competition here, just to kind of like go. But I'm not giving it away. But I'll I'm not really good at humming. I'm not good at singing. But I'll sing one of their bass lines from a song that they play. And if you don't, you should be able to get it from the bass line. Because this is what I do. I say the name, they don't get it. Then I sing the bass line and they go, and then they get it. Does that make sense?
It's not go on. I think I know who it is. It's just
so if I go, I'm really bad, so no judging my singing or my humming. But if I go dum 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 dum
Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy. Because
the
bass player for Queen is John Deacon.
Yeah.
And nobody knows who John Deacon is. And you know why they don't know who John Deacon is? Because the guy isn't in the band anymore, number one, right? Yeah. Because he was one of the first members to quit the band after Freddie died.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that man gets the respect that he deserves because that man made that bass line. Like if anyone's viewing this or listening to this, please watch Bohemian Rhapsody, the film, the movie, because
I haven't seen it yet. I need to watch it.
Matt, you need to watch that, right? Because now you'll see why John Deacon isn't as known as you think he is. You'll see why. But the problem is that man is so reputable. The amount of bass lines that guy has made, right? Oh, and no offense, that song, Another One Bites the Dust, wasn't written by any of those other members. It was written by John Deacon because he came up with the bass line and then they all writ round it, you know? Yeah. So there you go. There's a bass player there that has like forefronted the music that you hear today and
huge
made
hit.
a huge hit, but he's forgotten about.
Yeah.
Because he's not there anymore. He's not in the limelight, you know?
I can't believe that didn't come to me.
It's
Maybe-
weird though. Do you know what I'm thinking?
By default, I was thinking of the guy from the Jimi Hendrix trio. I always get mixed up with him, the Cream bass player.
Yeah. I know who you're on about.
I'll be honest, like I think they're great and I respect them, but I've never been a Queen fan, like genuinely.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Like I respect them.
No, but like that's what I'm saying.
Never been a Hendrix fan or a Cream fan, or it's just not my thing. But
neither me. And I've not been a Cream fan. I've never really been a Jimi Hendrix fan. Like I like the music, but I'm not fan. But you see,
when you say like Deacon, I think is that the guy for like it kind of blurs to me.
But I've grown up with Queen. You see, like I've grown up with the bands like Queen, Thin Lizzy, like bands like that. You know, and like,
oh my god,
mate, they're like. But you see, this is the thing. You say people like, oh, I listen to Queen, I listen to Thin Lizzy. They laugh at you because they're like, oh man, you're like, it's old man's music.
Because it's not
that
trendy.
Ain't old man's music, man. That's the stuff that created the rock and roll that you've got today. You wouldn't have the bands you have without bands like that. Do you know what I mean? Like they are the fundamental bands of the like, you know, the 70s, 80s, 90s. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe you know what I mean? So they're just like they've got a massive influence, like those sort of bands on my playing. Do you know what I mean? Because of their I enjoy watching their drummers. The drummers are great and stuff like that. But yeah, man, like it's funny because you ask that question to bassists all the time, and only a certain amount of bassists get it. That's the thing, like because you have to know the band. Do you know what I mean? You have to know about the band, and that's the problem. That's the only thing, you know.
I feel proper stupid.
Yeah, but then you could. But then I can name you any other bass players, and you go, "Oh yeah, I know." Do you know what I mean?
It's definitely John Deacon was in Queen, yeah.
Yeah, John Deacon. Yeah,
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
There you go. You learn something new every day.
Hopefully, I'll retain it.
Man. Yeah, but like, what's like? I'm going back on. Obviously, we went a bit off topic there, but it's good to chat. But yeah, what about you with the like starting out with the bass and stuff? You know?
So weirdest thing, you just mentioned Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
Right. No, actually, I'm not going to get to that, but hold that thought. So when I was 9, my dad's a musician. He would have guitars all around the house. And when I was about 9, I picked up his acoustic guitar and using tabs, I learned White Stripes, Seven Nation Army, the bass line.
Typical.
And Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit. Because they're kind of, at the time, they were the go-to.
Yeah, they're the
nice and simple.
Yeah.
And they just at the time, they sounded good to me. But and I picked that up like rapid, and I thought, shit, like I've got something here. Like I think I've got a little bit of raw talent. I'm not being arrogant, but I learned them like quick at the age of 9.
Of course. Right, nice.
And even my dad was like, that's pretty impressive. And it was only 6 months to a year later that he bought me an acoustic bass. So but yeah, you said about Thin Lizzy. One of my dad's favorite bands is Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, man.
And when I was 10 or maybe 11, possibly 11, he got me a P bass with the mirror like Phil Lynott had.
Oh yeah, nice.
You know, he had the mirror, he used to shine the light.
Yeah.
And the you know, like the leather strap with the studs.
Nice, yeah. Like,
Phil Lynott was my first like idol.
Nice, man. Yeah,
like my bass god.
I rate that guy big time.
Amazing songwriter. He wrote amazing bass lines, and he was just the whole package. Like great voice, great performer.
Definitely.
And how weird is that? Like at my age, to be like looking up to someone like that.
But that's what happens. That's where you get your influences from. Do you know what I mean? That's how it works. Like if anyone's starting out, like you will find like it's a bit different nowadays because like there's obviously a lot of mainstream modern music, and like you might know a lot more modern players and stuff, but. You know, there's iconic players out there that you will look up to, and you will get along your line of learning music, you will get introduced to these amazing players at some point across and you will find out who they've played for, and you will listen to those sort of music, you know, even if it's one song by them, and that's all you have on your playlist on Spotify or something. That's it. One song by that band. You'll always go back to that song. And actually, I find that I used to do that, but I'll always find that you listen to a song. And then eventually later down the line, when you start getting into like depth in more genres, you actually end up going back to that band and listening to more of their songs. You know what I mean? Because then you start getting a bit of an influence elsewhere throughout their music.
Yeah, and you do. go back, don't you?
Oh yeah, big
And,
time, big time.
and kind of tagging on to that, like for any people that are looking to start out or young musicians out there, I would say don't I don't know how to put it. Like don't pigeonhole yourself with what you're listening to and what you're learning. Like right from the get-go, just play everything, listen to everything.
Like obviously, like you've spoken about like your first influence and stuff like that in the bass and like what you first kind of bought into. But like, what would you say like when you all started playing? What would you say your first kind of like overall genre or style in music that like that really fueled your sort of music ability to like branch out, listen to more genres? What was the first thing that you played that would make like, what was the style?
That's a very hard question for me, and I'll explain why. So my dad's big music guy, listens to everything, always did. I was surrounded by it from a baby. And we come from a family of musicians. So
okay.
But yeah, that's a difficult one. So Thin Lizzy's definitely the first band, but in terms of a style, I don't know if I could answer it, because I was, like I was being fed like the Police. Sting was a huge influence.
Yeah, gotcha.
They had they had the reggae thing going on. Yes, it was pop, and they were quite punk rock in the early days. But
it was like cross genres, wasn't it? Like different ups and downs.
And James Jamerson, the bass player from the Motown days, huge influence.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I was I like rock. Do you know? Probably rock. But
I suppose it all sparks from rock, doesn't it? Like, I don't know if that's just my opinion or like you might think the same, but I feel like everyone starts with rock.
Yeah, or
I don't
blues.
know why. Yeah, rock. Well, because blues was rock and roll was rock, wasn't it? Like it's how it developed down the timeline. Do you know what I mean? Like,
most music has come from blues in a roundabout way. Of
course it has. And the thing is like I always find that people say like, oh yeah, rock music, because like, everyone starts with that, and then they eventually branch out. Yeah. But like with me, like I listen to rock music generally anyway, because obviously, like I said, my dad was Thin Lizzy, Queen, all those kind of bands. Like, but see, for me, when I was at school, even though music was a thing, I during my like secondary school years, I played a lot of like big band stuff, like jazz, swing. You know what I mean? And then that's kind of really the first thing that introduced me to like branching out in music. Like, yeah, okay, you had rock in the background. Yeah, okay, I knew what certain rock bands were and stuff. But I didn't play a lot of rock, because you can't be a rock drummer playing in a jazz swing band, because you just like, you're so used to like, and like, you've got to be really subtle, really soft, really elegant when you're playing swing and jazz.
It's a different dynamic.
Yeah, there's a lot of different. It's a dynamic. There's a feel. There's a touch to the way you play those genres, and I had to really adapt to playing that style.
Yeah, because the approach is polar opposites.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I was getting taught like certain different things, but like I never really got taught jazz or swing, and I kind of had to teach myself, by just playing, because I was getting taught lessons, but I had to play. Like I weren't getting in my lessons, I weren't getting taught jazz and swing, like I was teaching that by my listening to the music and listening to how to play, and just taking what I've learned and putting that to the page basically when I'd read in. Because like the great thing about me starting out doing that is I learned to read my music, like sheet music, because I had to, because it was what you had to follow in order to stay with everything else.
And if you can do that early on, do it.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a great thing. If they have the thing like, you got your grades and you got all that kind of stuff, and that's all well and good and everything. But like the fundamental would be like, especially if you're wanting to go like into like sort of like, composition work or pit work in the musical theatre and stuff like that, you need to know how to
open a book and go.
Yeah, exactly. So
the thing is, I would say though, like I'm very old school, and I'm kind of the approach of like just be a good player. Like don't get caught up in like I need to read sheet music or I need to do that. I didn't touch sheet music till I was 17.
Yeah,
but I could play. I'm not being arrogant, but
but that's
put a lot of effort into just being a good player.
But that's the same as me. I could play, but I had to adapt to learning sheet music really quickly. Like I wasn't taught it. I had to adapt to teach it myself.
It's more common for like to be taught sheet music as a drummer, though, isn't it? I'd say, like, if you're going into lessons, say normally you've
not
normally
really,
got some,
but that's the thing. No, not really, because when I had my
Really?
lessons, I wasn't getting taught by sheet music. I was getting taught by play. The only thing I would have is maybe like a manuscript pad, and he would write out the groove that we played in the lesson. But it was only because I knew how to read the sheet music, I'd know how to read that. If I didn't know how to kind of roughly read sheet music, I wouldn't know what the hell he was writing down. Do you know what I mean? So it's a different, you know what I mean? So like I got introduced to it by doing it myself, but I'd have to just turn up and play these jazz swing standards from this folder.
Yeah.
And like I didn't know how to read half of them because of like there's all these different things on it, you know, like clefs and all the different kind of quotations that you need to keep your eye out for, like, you know, accents and stuff like that. And
yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky. Like I took me a while, and I eventually got to a point where I really, really started to like get more deeper and deeper into the big band stuff and swing band, and I needed to know it a little bit more. So then I started bringing it to my lessons and saying, look, don't know about you, but I really, really need to learn this stuff, because otherwise I'm gonna get ahead of myself, and I'm gonna get to a point where I don't know what I'm playing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I don't know what's on the paper or what it says, I don't know, you know?
So it was important for you to know the theory.
Yeah, because if I don't want to turn up to a gig, you know, because when I was at school, like, I was actually very fortunate to do a lot of gigs and tour a lot of places in Europe with a big band I was in, which was like quite amazing for me, because that's kind of another thing that sparked my love for being a player and a session player. Do you know what I mean?
And wanting to do it because you toured.
Yeah, like
sort of.
I got the opportunity to go to France to play in Paris. And we did 2 shows in Paris, and I did one in, and this was with my school. I was in a big band at my school. And
what age? 15, 16 or
15? 15, 16.
That's awesome.
And that was my first like step into the world of touring, really. Do you know what I mean? Like I managed to kind of like, like I had my kit. I bought my kit. I boxed it all up. I stuck it under the coach that we took the ferry over. So we went on we did the coach over. And it was we all had our instruments, and like it was quite a quick tour, but it was really good. But like we played a warm-up show somewhere in Paris. Then we did a show in the middle of a park in Paris in like a bandstand.
wicked.
We went there, we set up
open air.
Like an open air kind of music festival thing, which is really cool, which is really quite fun.
Wicked.
And then I'd say my love for actually going on that, my love for playing live and touring was actually sparked by the last show I did on that tour with the big band, where it's actually like, I don't think many people can say they've had this opportunity, which I'm kind of grateful for. But I got to play Disneyland Paris.
No way.
Yeah, I got to play at Disneyland Paris in front of like over 10,000 people.
Jesus Christ.
Because there's like millions that flood through that park every day. And
big crowds.
Yeah, we set up and we played on, we got mic'd up and everything, like proper stage show. And we got mic'd up and we did like a good like hour and a half, 2 hour set. And we played on the stage that Lion King, the musical, was done on.
No way.
In the park.
So serious setup.
Yeah, and it was a serious setup, and like it was so good because like there were people. We played the 2 hours of lunch, as they call it, over like their period of lunch over there, where literally the place was just filled with people, and like they're just like filled with countless people. And the great thing about that was like just being able to say like I've played Disneyland Paris. Do you know what I mean? Like it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But just I suppose sitting there and talking about it and stuff was quite cool because.
Hello.
Oh, he's back.
We lost connection.
Yeah, we lost connection. That's all right.
And welcome to episode 2.5 of the Groove Session Show with me, Roman.
And me, Jack.
Here we go.
Nah, it's all right. It's actually funny enough. Like we're still going. It's not. We're still going.
It's like a storm here.
Yeah, I can see how your connection's going a bit funny, isn't it? Yeah, your connection's going a bit funny, isn't it? Crazy, isn't it? Yeah, your connection's gone a bit bad now. You're doing all right up to that point.
Disneyland Paris.
Yeah. Nah, I basically went to Disneyland Paris, and yeah, following on from that, it's pretty sick, to be fair.
Is that working? Are we back?
I think, but you're frozen on the picture.
Still frozen?
You've lost all connection now.
What, 2 secs?
I can hear you though.
Oh, that.
I now I've lost you. We've lost him, guys. We're having a bit of a technical malfunction here.
How's that, Jack?
Yeah, it's fine now. Just don't touch anything, because otherwise you're going to go off again.
I've gone on to 4G. Yeah, so you tasted this wicked show at Disneyland Paris, and that kind of sparked everything for you
definitely.
in a live context.
Definitely. Like, not many days you get to say you played Disneyland Paris in front of over 10,000 people during a lunch period. Yeah, man, it was on the biggest high after that, I think. The biggest high. Like, just mental.
And I think you need that to like embed it into you and just be like, right, this is a passion now.
It was crazy, absolutely crazy. Like, I don't think I didn't think I'd ever get that kind of opportunity at school to do something like that. And having done that, I think when it got to like getting older and starting to like go to uni and do drums like in front of like crowds and people and gigs and stuff, it didn't feel as scary to me. It didn't feel like oh my god, I've never done
because
this
you'd been here,
because I'd been like
and then
there, and then I'd gone back to start again. Like I'd gone to a point where like I was only playing in a school band, but I was playing in a big, like, as I'd say, a big venue. Like, it's not a venue, I know, but it is technically, because it's in it was in the middle of the park. That park's got millions of people every year. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a big high for me, I think. Big high.
Yeah. Are we still good on the connection?
Roughly. Keeps going in and out.
Yeah, it's in and out, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't really go on to mention it about myself, but
yeah, go on. Losing you again.
From a young age,
losing you again. Nah, it's really, really like robotic.
How's that? Sit back.
Right. You just keep going in and out, mate. Like, I think you were smooth sailing the whole way. You didn't have no connection problems, and now it's just you're in and out. Yeah, like you keep slowing down. Like your visuals keep slowing down, but you lose the sound at the same time.
Make it work for those of you. Yeah. Maybe do we start another chat? Do you think? Or
yeah, I guess so.
should we try that?
Yeah, you keep coming back and then coming in and out again. I think it's because you said there's a storm there. I think it's having an effect on you. Because your connection was fine up to that point.
Really like
you're really lagging slow, like your visuals, and you weren't a minute ago. And your audio, every time you lag on the video, your audio cuts.
Yeah.
I'll end it and then start another one. But
yeah, let's try that, Jack. Yeah.
Okay. All right.